What is up, YouTube? Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know it's about that time. Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 259 is here, baby. And how this chapter begins is with a flashback of Yuji Choso and Noritoshi Kamu, where they're discussing the convergence technique. Yuji asked Choso to teach him the convergence, but Choso is so bad at teaching the convergence because he's talking about you gotta do it like this, you gotta do it like that, which obviously doesn't really help the situation. That Noritoshi explains it. What Noritoshi says is that when you're in hot water, the heat compresses your entire body. That is because hot water is a vasodilator, meaning it expands the blood vessel, improving circulation. That's when Choso begin pouty because he's not able to teach Yuji about convergence. It also, this chapter starts to revealing that Yuta was the second person that Yuji actually swapped with. Choso then starts telling Yuji, why don't you ask him about Supernova? But Noritoshi dismisses that, saying that Yuji should learn blood manipulation only to know how to stop bleeding and suturing. That's when we see the panel switch to Sukuna, where it is explains that only through the cooking process of both dismantle and cleave furnace, which is the fire technique, it lacks speed and it has a less narrow range than his domain expansion. So to resolve these issues, Sukuna opposed a binding vow on himself. The chapter that shows Arame saying that it's our win, where it seems like Arame and Hikari has been battling. They have not been showing that to us yet. So at some point we are going to get that fight. And what is explained to us is that the furnace heat results in decompression and overpressure, leading to the death of all living beings inside the domain, and is considered Ryomen Sukuna's ultimate technique, and it slaughtered Maharaga. It says that during his fight with Gojo, Sukuna had to repeatedly change the specifics of his domain, narrowing its effective range. Due to this, Sukuna deemed it insufficient to release Furnace. Thus, Sukuna had to seal it during his fight with Gojo. That's crazy that Gojo made him seal this technique during his fight, because that was a big question for a lot of people about why isn't he releasing Furnace. And when he releases it and shoots it at Yuji, Choso creates a barrier of blood around him with Yuji inside. That ends up resulting in his own death. Yuji is freaking out because Choso is sacrificing his life for him. But before passing, Choso apologizes to Yuji for being useless during their training. We then see Choso and Yuji in their imaginary soul world. Choso compliments Yuji for learning reverse curse technique faster than himself. Yuji says it is due to Sukuna using his body that he achieved this. However, Choso says that he shouldn't be modest. Little brothers are meant to surpass their older brothers, and he has a big smile on his face. But Yuji scolds Choso, saying that he can't just disappear, and Choso replies by saying he is right and needs to apologize to Tsukumo. He then apologizes to Yuji for leaving him alone again, where Yuji is saying why is he worried about that, and that Choso was always by his side even when the times were at his toughest, and that was more than enough. That's when we see Choso, Eso, and Ketchuzu when they were all, fetuses, and they started talking where Choso was saying right, and they were talking about how cold they are, and I think it was Ketchuzu that said he was cold, and they started to just hold a little bit of a conversation just to forget about the cold. And Choso says that after the 150 years experience, he only had a few days with Yuji, but that was one of the best times of his life. But we go back to the reality where Choso thanks Yuji for becoming his brother, while Yuji thanks Choso for being his big brother. And, he got incinerated at this point. At the end of the day, he got cooked. He literally got cooked. And that's when the blood goes away and we see that Yuji is looking helpless, asking if someone is around. Because as you see, it's devastation everywhere. And it was a time where Yuji once convinced us that he was a cog in the machine. That is something he told Mahito, that he was the cog in the machine. And no matter what happened, he was meant to fulfill his role. But as the scorched earth heat began to push away, he shook the foundation of his resolve. The resolve to repay his brother who had sacrificed his life to protect him. Yuji is helpless as Sukuna begins to walk towards them. And that's when another brother arrives. Again, this whole arc right now, like this whole situation kind of looks like the Shibuya arc, actually. It's really crazy because this looked like when Yuji lost a resolve against Mahito, but Ayo Todo again shows up. And that's what happens in this situation. And that's when we see a flashback where Todo and Mei discuss their plan to rescue the people trapped inside Sukuna's domain. By using Mei's crow and Todo's boogie woogie, they could get people outside. Since Sukuna's domain instantly kills, Todo can't guarantee their lives, but still give it a try. Says that since Todo will be outside of Sukuna's domain, he must expand his curse technique range by a lot. So she asks him if he can really do it. Todo says that he's not sure about succeeding, but he could still feel the heartbeat of Boogie Woogie because if anybody remember, he cut off his left arm to prevent himself from becoming a monster, and he said Boogie Woogie was dead. But he also says that he doesn't want Yuji to know about the plan because they were once in one body. And Mei come to the realization that Yuji might inadvertently let Sukuna know of the plan. So it seemed like there's like some form of psychic connection between Yuji and Sukuna. So that's why he didn't want Yuji to know the plan. And Todo was uncertain of his ally's safety, and he couldn't even move Choso and Yuji to the outside because they were the closest to Sukuna's domain. So they was getting cut up the most. But Todo explains everything to Yuji and is encouraging by apologizing, but they may be all right. So that's when Yuji gets back to, his resolve and said he's just going to believe in Todo. And that's when Todo and Yuji rushing towards Sukuna while Sukuna is having curse technique burnout for the first time after using that domain. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this chapter. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What did you like about this chapter? Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out, y'all.